So welcome. If you're joining, it's just now 8:30. I'm going to see if I get a couple viewers to join, and if not, I'll go right ahead and start going through the tips I have for AP Psychology. If you want to, it's a little bit odd with this screen because I can see your chat, so I'm staying on this screen for a minute. I can see who joins, but I can't. It's on such a delay watching myself that it's quite odd. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and go through some tips I have for you on how to be successful in AP Psychology, and then you'll be able to watch this later if you're not here right now. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was perfectionism. For me to learn how to do, learning how to do all this video streaming and all of this is probably something that comes very, very natural to you, but I didn't send my first email until I was about 17 years old. So from the time me being in high school to being a working adult, things have changed so fast. And I don't know how many of your teachers tell you, but it can be quite intimidating to see, how fast everybody does this. And it's really, it's humbling, and it teaches us that you can't expect to be perfect, so I can't think that I'm going to do things and not have there be mistakes. So if you see a mistake I make, I appreciate you telling me, and I do try to improve upon what I'm doing. But perfectionism is also something that really does hurt students in AP Psychology because there's so much content in this course. So I have a master's in psychology, and I have a school psych specialty degree. So I've taken a lot of classes. And when I studied for the exam to become a school psychologist, I went back to my Introduction to Psychology textbook because it's like the ocean surface. It does cover all the major topics that are there. And then if you're really interested in psychology, you end up going into a course. Like we do a unit on biological psychology. Well, if you're really interested in that, there's multiple courses. I took courses in my undergrad studies. I took courses in my graduate studies. But you're going to learn a lot of the terms that are later learned there. And when we learn about different kinds of therapy, just because you know what they are doesn't mean you know how to do them. So a lot of this course is knowing what things are, and then if you're interested, you'll learn how to use them more. And I've been watching people's videos. I'm almost through. There's only, I was watching Andy's Flipgrid. There's like 3 that I didn't get to today. So I was watching, and one of the things that's very common to the discussions there on Flipgrid is, wanting to know more about others. And I really approach this course as wanting to know more about yourself, because when you understand yourself, you'll understand others even better. I'll bring it up a lot, and it's very, very big right now. Andy was talking about it in terms of unconscious, and you can see it. They call it the dark web. People really trying to understand the shadow of what's going on in humanity. And Jung was the first one to talk about this. He said the person you dislike the most is the one who's teaching you the most about what you dislike in yourself. And so there's some people arguing right now that in terms of humanity, we've hidden too much of our dark selves, of our unconscious selves, of not knowing what we're capable of doing in terms of really negative behavior, and it's playing itself out again, and that it has played itself out through history. Anyways, I go in the opposite direction. You can see that I'm really interested in these concepts, and I'll always be sharing extra things. My focus to you is getting you to do well on the AP test, right? So that's our goal. So there was also, people talking about not liking tests. I can't make this course. I do have a regular psychology course. If there's any of my regular psychology people watching, the biggest difference between AP Psychology and psychology is that I don't have any test taking in psychology. So if you really don't need the AP part for university, I suggest, switching to the psychology course, because I use all the projects. We have much of the same content, but we don't have any of the focus of preparing for that AP exam. So my first tip, I have a little list here I'm going through. First tip is lose your perfectionism. You don't have to do things perfect. Just turn stuff in. If I really don't think it's done well enough, I'll tell you. Let me be the judge. And not judge in like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible student judge, but just judge of, yeah, this was good enough. I would say, I think I wrote it to somebody. One of my mottos in life is that's good enough. Because I have 4 children, I have over 60 online students, I have big gardens, I raise a lot of my own food. And if I was so worried about every little thing being perfectly done, I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. So it's good enough, and it's okay to say that to yourself. The other thing on tips for being successful is be careful of how much is on your plate. I wrote some of you where I saw you had 3, 4, 5 AP courses. More than 2 is a lot in a year. And it means if you're going to say, I want these courses and these are really important, you're going to have to learn to say no thank you to other things people ask you to do. You know, if there's a dinner and you got to get stuff done, you might have to say to your parents and family, no thank you, I just can't do this tonight. I want you to have time with your family. I think family time is equally important as class time. But if you're committed to doing the courses, then you have to really learn how to balance your time. And, you know, somebody at school says, you know, we need, you know, a student council representative or student council vice president or student council secretary, or we need a captain of the basketball team. You might have to say no if this is your goal. You can't do everything. That's just I've seen it year after year. The people who struggle the most with the course are the ones who simply have too much to do. So manage that. Next tip is on the schedule. I've had questions about, you know, I put this weekly schedule up here for you. And it's what if you want to stay up to date and you want to finish the course in time for the AP class or AP test, this schedule allows you to do so. There's some of you who have block scheduling. So, you know, you're only working, let's say, Tuesday and Thursday afternoon and a little bit on Friday. Well, you're going to have to figure out how you squeeze this stuff in. I know some of you have really busy extra things. You can use Saturday and Sunday. My goal is that you take a break every weekend. So when I say what I think you can do, this is what I think you can do in, you know, your 45 minutes at class plus the AP has to take some stuff home. College Board is recommending 1.5 to 2 hours a day on an AP class. I think if you're really focused, you might not need that much time. But it also depends on how fast you read, how many times you need to rewatch videos, and so forth. So this is my schedule. You can use it. You can make your own schedule, but you got to make something and stick to it. What I've found happen is by the first week of October, I always get, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know how to keep up with this. And it's because what students start doing is they fall behind in one class and then they stop working on their other classes and they get caught up in that class. And then they're behind in everything other. So, and usually I'm like the last on the list to get stuff done because one, I'm not going to be pushy about it. Okay, there's no threats from me. I'm here to help you. This is all an elective course. Both psychology and AP psychology are not graduation requirements. So I'm not going to put any kind of like, oh, you're going to get a D if you don't get this done. Some of your online teachers will do that. I will not. I'm here to help you. I'll help you make a schedule. I'll help you change the schedule. But you got to find one that you keep. And you got to learn the getting the hard work done first and then rewarding yourself. It's really important. I have a reward every day. You'll see me offline between 10:30 and 11. I set my goals in the morning of what I want to get done. And when I'm done at 10:30, I get to go out to my garden. All right? If I don't get done, I have to stay until I get those things done. So get your work done and give yourself rewards. All right. Next tip is going to be on using these resources. As we start to get into the lessons, I'm trying to take into account that you are different kinds of learners. All of you have told me different kinds of learners. So I link to their textbook. That's assigned reading. You can it depends on what kind of learner you are. If you really like reading the textbook, then you might be getting the majority of your content from the textbook. I put in videos. I'm using more and more of the College Board videos this year. But not all. I had some person tell me how much they dislike Crash Course. If you dislike it, don't watch it. Okay? You can really pick. And you'll see that my main way of knowing what you're doing are the concept maps. So this is your way of showing me what you're learning. I really dislike it when teachers ask questions. So if they ask, who said blah, or what does blank mean, then I'm guaranteeing that everybody's learning only that, because that's all you're focused on, and you're not using the memory is the power of association. So the AP test is made up of 100 multiple choice questions and 2 free response. You'll come to, when you see memory, that the multiple choice questions are what's known as recognition, memory of recognition. You only have to recognize the right answer. So when you're building your concept maps, you're associating ideas with each other. And hopefully, even if you don't really know the answer on the multiple choice test, you'll be forming that association to get the right answer. The free response is recall, which is a little bit harder, but they're equal weight on the test. So you have your choices of the materials. At the very beginning of the year, I'm giving you some concept maps just as examples. You can start with mine. You can start right away with your own. But what I kind of recommend is you use the resources. I'm going to go down to another lesson, because you start to see, here's the concept map and here's all the resources. And there's things that are optional. Okay, so when I find something that I really like that I want to share with you, I put on here. You can choose, this is the one that, like, I tell people, the PowerPoint, this is like the bare minimum. All right. And it just kind of it's another teacher's materials. They're not mine, but they're what he has. Like, if a student does nothing else, then at least they'll have the key terms from that content. So if you're really pressed on time and you're like, I just want to get this done for today, at minimum, look at that. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want. On some concept maps, like, I want to bring this one up here. I have like where'd it go? Everything is behind my desktop. Come back here. There we go. It's opening. When I'm running all of this software on my computer starts to run a little bit slow, and it's going to heat the fan up and everything's going to be crazy. It's trying really hard to open this file. It's very scary. I'll talk a little bit while I wait for it. It's very overwhelmed. My computer, I have a MacBook Pro laptop, and it's only 2.5 years old, but with all of these new things, it's becoming overwhelmed. I think it's almost time for another new toy. Anywho, some of the concept maps have bigger ideas on them. There we go. It came. Nice. And I got 2 of them. So you can see this one for research. It has a ton of stuff already on the concept map, and it doesn't look like the other ones. But what I'm trying to have you do is see that research is a process. And so as you add information here, well, what does correlation mean? What is part of a hypothesis? You can add everything to the front of this, all your notes on this. You can write on the back of it, but it's so you can see, what is a case study? What is a survey? What's an observation? I think I tell you to look at the pluses and minuses, like what conclusions can be made from each of these things. So at the beginning, sometimes students are a little bit confused at the concept maps because I give samples. And just ask me when you have questions. I'll be happy to ask again. All right, so tip, the resources are a bit of your choice of what to use, knowing that you have the text and you have the other things. My next tip, ask questions. I'm trying to buddy you guys up so that this can be more social, so you can also ask your classmates. But one of the things you'll notice that is the hardest about online learning, if you haven't picked it up already, is that you have to do everything. In the classroom, when you are working in a group, maybe one person's doing the writing and you're putting in your ideas, but not everybody writes stuff down. And here, everybody has to turn in everything by themselves. I don't do a lot of group work because you're working in different time zones. Nobody likes it when their grade depends on what somebody else does. And you have to take the AP test alone. But I'm trying to use Flipgrid. We're going to have weekly discussions, you'll see. Every week there'll be a little, I'll put a little video, you'll add some stuff. I also hope by doing these interviews that you're talking to each other already, that you start to get it so that you work with others, so that it can be more social. All right, last thing I have is everybody's always asking about grading. So let's take a minute to talk about grading. At the beginning, I'm scrolling up, at the beginning of every, so this is Unit 1, Week 1. So the first week of every unit, there's a document called a unit planner. And I know it's not very big, so sometimes it's missed. The unit planner is just a document that I have. It has how long we're taking. It has the percentage of the AP exam on it. Then it has all the TSWs, so this is what you have to be able to do. As we go down, it has the important people, like knowing these people will always help you on the test because they're often referencing it. It has all the things you're going to complete in that unit. So just a list of what are you going to do. And then the most important thing to kind of see your grade is it has that TSW, it has the criteria, so what can you do? And then it has for you, what am I using to assess this? So in terms of this TSW, there are some questions on the test and there's the timeline. For this TSW, there's an A-level part and then how am I using it? So I recommend just reading through this at the beginning of the unit. You obviously don't know the test questions, but this is what I'm using. A lot of the A-level things, sometimes as we move through and I do more projects, I make more things optional. But oftentimes the free response questions on the AP test, because I'm always using old ones, often those are A-level things anyways. So that is what I have on my tips. I'm going to come back over to where I see the live stream and I'm going to just say, are there questions? Because there's a lag between me recording this and you seeing it. There we go. So I give you a second if anybody needs to type. Again, I just always, there's an expression in English. It says the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So if you need something, ask for it. There's often times where I'm answering people's questions, and those who are kind of quiet and not doing anything, those can be the people who often fall behind. So I appreciate your time this morning, and just let me know if you have any questions. I set up the Teams chat also so that we can ask common questions, and I look forward to a really good year. Thank you.